No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show, where we have all been thoroughly entertained by another great contest between the Winnipeg Jets and the St. Louis Blues, a back and forth nail-biter that saw the Winnipeg Jets hold on for a 2-1 victory over the St. Louis Blues. An early third period goal coupled with a smothering defensive effort by the Winnipeg Jets is the difference in tonight's contest. A goaltending battle with both goalies stepping up and making key saves at key times saw this one as another entertaining battle. The Jets, though, up 2-0 in this best-of-7 series. Gentlemen, good to see you again. We were last together a few hours ago at City Place, but it's always fun to be back together to talk about a Winnipeg Jets victory in this best-of-7 series versus the Blues.
Good evening, boys. This was big boy hockey tonight. This was a fantastic hockey game. Some 2-1 hockey games are a little bit boring. This game was absolutely not. It fully delivered. We saw some physicality early on, and it really continued on. Logan Stanley's hit on Jordan Kyrou, boys, is Scott Stevens-esque, Dustin Byfuglien-esque, to make it a little bit more relevant here. It kind of had shades of Byfuglien on Mark Stone. They even showed it on Hockey Night Canada, right? So, just a huge win. And look, this was the best the St. Louis Blues had to offer, right? We talked about it during the pregame show at City Place, right? We knew that the Blues were going to be desperate. We knew that they didn't want to go back to Enterprise Center in St. Louis down 2-0, but the Jets weathered the storm. And I thought, guys, Drew mentioned Hellebuck and Binnington. I thought Hellebuck's best was in the first period. And once again, guys,
the first 5 minutes of the game, the Blues,
absolutely,
the Blues had 4 shots in the first 5 minutes, and I'd say of those 4, 3 of them were probably high danger chances.
Yeah, the 2 I remember, Drew, were the Jimmy Snuggerud chance, and then Cam Fowler had that chance when he moved in off the blue line, and Hellebuck had to make a tricky save. And obviously, we'll talk about Binnington too when maybe we get into the game recap, but he made that unbelievable save on Appleton in the first period. I think Appleton was really surprised that he didn't score there. But yeah, both goaltenders were excellent, and we expected a lower scoring game, right, guys? We weren't expecting 8 goals with the way these goaltenders have shown up in big games. But the penalty kill, I know Dave M is going to want to touch on that. The Jets penalty kill comes through huge, even though I thought there were at least a couple penalties maybe that could have gone uncalled, like the Logan Stanley cross-check. The Luke Shen penalty after the whistle I thought was ridiculous.
Oh my God. That was one of the worst playoff calls I've ever seen. I mean, like John Garrett on the broadcast was just laughing about it. I mean, first of all, there's more leeway allowed. And Dave, I know you already want to get in on this. There's more leeway allowed for post-whistle shenanigans in the playoffs. But to call that of all of the post-whistle shenanigans, that is wild. Just so everybody knows, we are going to bring you right into the Matt Frost Media Center as soon as Jim Montgomery is at the podium for the St. Louis Blues. So stay tuned for that. But Dave, quickly on that, I know you were furious about that Shen penalty.
I'm not furious. I'm disappointed in the officiating because this is the playoffs, and you have to raise your standard. And I mean, it was funny because not funny that he got hurt, but one of the linesmen had to leave the game, and then when the backup ref took his spot, the fans kind of gave him a little bit of a cheer, and I was surprised because the officiating had been so bad. I don't like the calls against either team. I don't like these calls, like the Mark Scheifele holding the stick. Well, I guess just as easily it could have been called hooking.
I thought the same thing.
And so I'm just watching this and I'm thinking to myself, like, what am I watching here? Like, I don't understand it. Again, let them play. If you see a guy, level a guy. I love the fact that Logan Stanley lowers the boom and doesn't get called for a penalty. Or
it was a clean hit though, Dave. That was an absolutely clean hit.
That's not what I meant to say. I meant to say, but doesn't have to fight after delivering it, and he delivered a couple of big hits. So, credit Logan Stanley.
By the way, Dave, does anybody on St. Louis want to fight Stanley?
Here's Jim Montgomery.
Okay.
Jim, you guys have been so good in the third period, especially down the stretch the last couple months. What's happened in the third period, these two games?
Winnipeg's made one more play than us, both games. Shots are dead even, so they're just making one more play, and their best players are making them.
And just quick follow-up, that one play tonight, what did you see on the goal? It looked like Bennington lost his stick, but Connor wide open. What did you see from your perspective?
I thought we had good puck pressure on the play up top, and I think that play should be killed behind the net by us. And then we got to be able to cover. I mean, we want to force the puck up high versus allowing 81 to get a shot from the hash marks.
You got the early power play goal, but it seems like the later power plays maybe not as effective. Did there changes on Winnipeg's side or things you guys weren't doing in the power play?
I don't think we were shot focused enough. I do think we had some really good looks, and we didn't execute either the pass or, more importantly, the shots. And I thought Albuck made a couple of big-time saves.
On the Jets' first goal, you had a line change. Was it just you needed a line change, but was it ill-advised, or did you just not play it well after that?
I don't think all 4 out of 5 guys changed. And then we didn't execute. We have a plan when we have wholesale changes like that, and we didn't execute very well defending that.
Is the decision to go with 11 and 7 today? What went into that?
I just thought that some of our really talented forwards didn't get enough ice time last game. And I thought we could get some favorable matchups just because they'd be out there more, and our offensive players getting a really good rhythm. And I thought they did. I thought they were feeling the puck a lot better. And I think it also allows our depth of our defensemen, which is really deep, to be able to use 7 of those guys, and it allowed us to be a little more physical.
With these games being so close, and you talk about they making one more play, what do you guys have to do to swing it, to make that extra play?
Well, we're going to have the last line change now. We're going to go home. We're going to be in front of our frenzy crowd, and we're going to have an opportunity to hold serve at home. We got to get to game 3.
It's big picture. You just touched on it there, but how do you see the situation? I mean, it's 2-0, but the games obviously have been close. Does that bode well when you're trying to stay in a series that you can play with them and maybe some small adjustments can help?
Yeah, I think as a group, we're not happy to be down 2-0, but the games are really close. There's not much separation going on right now. We need to make a separation. We need to find another level here when we go home so that we can end up on top by a goal.
When you look at the goals they've gotten, they've been some, I would say, they got a deflection in the game today. I think the first goal with Snuggerud slams into Bennington and knocks it in. Do you take anything from that and how they've gotten their goals?
Well, I do think that they've been harder at the net front than we have offensively. And that's, that's net hunger. Our net hunger needs to increase. Thank you.
There goes Jim Montgomery, head coach of the St. Louis Blues, lamenting the fact his team is not getting to the net enough. Net hunger is the phrase that he used when describing the Blues and their lack thereof in tonight's game. I do take issue with his contention that the Jets are just making one more play than the St. Louis Blues. I thought the Jets did a very good job in tonight's third period after scoring the early third period goal. I thought the Jets really did a very admirable job in keeping the Blues to the outside and making things relatively easy for Connor Hellebuck. I mean, I thought the Blues' best opportunity in that third period was on that tip, the Braden Shen tip of the Nick Leddy point shot that went short side but just wide. I thought the Jets really did buckle down in that third period. The game may have been a little bit more open for the first 40 minutes, but after the Jets took the lead, I thought you saw their smothering defense at play and their ability to keep the Blues to the exterior rather than the interior as.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's be clear here, guys. Like, I think you give the Blues the first period.
Here's the 2 Winnipeg Jets players, so we'll come back in a second with that.
Why have the Winnipeg Jets been able to win both third periods so far? is just skipping or staying to the script, just playing our game, not getting outside of ourselves, and just staying in the moment. And just confidence in our abilities and our mindset, and confidence in our style of play, and not beating ourselves. Just keep doing what we're doing. And the message has been great each period. Just keep doing what we're doing on the ice, and work for our chances. And we were able to get it tonight and lock it down.
Another big goal from Kyle Connor, and part of it starts with the play that Cole wins in the corner, and you guys work it around. What was your view of that? And Cole's play, Kyle's play, all of it?
Yeah, it was great forecheck. We got the puck, went low to high, D to D, kind of spread them out, and we reset it back down, and Scheif and Fetz won their battle, and KC is so good at finding that quiet ice, and it was a great look by Fetz, and you give it to the right guy, he's going to put it in the net.
For each of you, maybe start with you. How did you feel you guys played compared to game one?
Yeah, I think there were some things, first two periods, that we did well, some things that we could improve on, and I think that third period was a really solid period by both teams. We were just able to find that one, and kind of able to hold on to the lead. Bucky made some big saves for us. He was dialed in, and Bennington played great too down there. So we knew it was going to be a tight checking game, and that's what we expect from them. And again tonight we were able to get that one and lock it down.
Their push never seemed to come. How did your tight checking? How did you see it affecting them?
Yeah, I think it was frustrating them. We weren't giving them much ice, and we were just being patient with it and making them come through us, and we didn't, give that middle of the ice away. And I think it's frustrating to play against when you play like that. And we were able to, keep them on the outside. And when they did get a chance, like Dylan said here, it was Bucky made a great save, and it was a great defensive performance.
Cole, how would you describe the subtle play Mark makes before the puck gets to you on the goal, the way he gets inside position on Fowler, and then what did you see to find the lane for Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, Scheif is so smart when it comes to that body positioning, getting inside a guy or just making a little poke on the puck, and he was able to get the guy's stick and then make just a little poke, and that was all that he needed to, for the puck to come to me and create that little bit of space. And I knew that I had a little bit of time, and like Smokey said, KC finds the right, pockets of the ice, how to get open, and I just made a quick look, and he was wide open, and then, he makes a great shot. So it was, a great play.
Dylan, how do you describe the hit from Logan Stanley? Also the magnitude, how he was sort of able to also take Kyrou out of the game after he was probably the Blues' best forward in game one.
Yeah, it was a big hit. Obviously, it was a big moment. He read the play well, and finished, strong, and it was a big hit. That's how you categorize it. It was, we got up on the bench, crowd got into it. Any time you get a chance to lay a hit on their top end guys or skill guys, we want to make it hard on them. And not everybody can hit like that, but that was a great hit. And he's been a guy that's not scared of the moment. Stan, he goes after guys and uses that size well. But he's done a great job with the puck too, making plays, and he's been real solid for us.
Dylan, what do you think you guys did better in this game to kind of clamp down and limit the amount of high danger chances that the Blues were getting?
Well, they did have some looks early on there. I think, their D were beating us up the ice a couple times. They had that second wave coming. We got outside the dots a couple of times, but then we were just able to, kind of just get back to how we play. And, we just kind of got away from it a couple of times there. And Bucky made some big saves for us. But, that third period, we just felt confident that we just kept rolling the lines and doing what we do. Don't get outside of ourselves, stick to the game plan. We were, willing to play that patient game, and was able to find the result tonight.
Dylan, Luke Shen just had a really good answer about the ups and downs of a defenseman, finding his game in the NHL, and he was saying it in reference to Logan. I'm wondering what you guys saw from him as, sometimes with the fan base, he was much maligned for some of the mistakes that he had made, but what you guys saw in him that leads to a point tonight and what he's capable of doing for a team in these big moments.
Yeah, I think it hasn't been obviously an upward trajectory for him. He's had some injuries. He's had some, some tough bounces, and he's really had to, kind of grind for it, even for a guy who was in the first round. Nothing was necessarily given to him. He's worked really hard at his craft. I think each year you can see he's getting more comfortable. He's making really good plays with the puck on our breakouts and moving transition. I think he's got an underrated offensive game, and, getting shots through at the point and using his offensive ability. he's such a big man. I'm sure it's not easy growing into that body at, those teenager years and those early 20s. But, he's one of the hardest working guys in the gym, on the ice, always trying to get better. And, to see him have a moment tonight where he's able to make a big impact on the game, we're proud of him. We know he's capable of that. And we know that we're confident that his best hockey's still ahead of him.
For either of you, Kyle had a good he had a good response when asked about why you guys keep finding the big moment in this series. He said it's just about never taking a shift off. And I wonder the kind of mental acuity you have to stay on top of the game the way you guys are, to the point that you've been bulletproof in these third periods.
Go ahead, if you want it.
Yeah, I think we know what we're capable of. We know our game, we know our style, and it comes down to being patient. We're not we're going to play our game defensively, and that's kind of always been our motto all year is, defense first. We'll get our offense from our defense, and, it really frustrates other teams, and then, we can capitalize from there. And, the whole thing of never taking a shift off, doing all the little things right, every play matters, whether it's, all three zones, every little play matters, and I think we have that kind of ingrained in us right now. And, we're just focused on winning every individual battle that we have out there. And, if we do that, we're going to be in good shape.
Well said.
There goes Dylan DeMello and Cole Perfetti tonight on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Still to come, Jets head coach Scott Arniel will join us. This is the Play Now Illegal Curve post-game show. Big thanks to our friends at Play Now for their continued support of our programming. Dylan DeMello spoke, eloquently, spoke well about Logan Stanley. Look, I have been a criticizer of Logan Stanley, but credit where credit is due. He was impactful for the right reasons in tonight's game. The hit on Jordan Kyrou was one that we will remember. That's one of those hits that people will go back and reference, over the next couple of years, along the lines of some Bufflin hits over the years. And then he also followed that up with, I believe, a hit on Robert Thomas later on in the game. So Logan Stanley really, this is a good series for him because the Blues are not an unbelievably fast team. So Stanley, who oftentimes can get beat by foot speed issues, doesn't have to worry so much about that against St. Louis. He used his stick well in tonight's contest, and of course, he used his physicality, absolutely lambasting Kyrou and then Robert Thomas with two significant hits in the game tonight, Ezzy.
Yeah, and guys, I thought that the Shen-Stanley pairing was very solid tonight. I think there was one play that I can remember.
Scott Arniel, sorry for interrupting.
Players about,
again,
why you've been the team that's been the bigger team in the big moments. Kyle Connor said it's not taking a shift off. Cole took it further. It's just basically every single play matters, and I wonder how you get to a team to a degree that their level of detail is so focused at every point on the ice that you're near bulletproof the way your team has been.
Well, I think that there's been a lot of those moments over the course of the season where it's we've had great first periods and blew a team out, or we've had to wait. It's taken us with our 6-on-5 at the end, or it's had to go to overtime, whatever it might be, that we just keep stressing about that plays that happen over a course of a game. It might happen in the first, might happen in the third. It's exactly what Cole said, is that every play does matter. I was a little upset there at the end of the first period because I thought that was a kill. I thought we had done it perfect. I thought that we had the puck in the corner with 15 seconds left, and to me it was just every play matters, and you don't know how big it's going to be at the end of the game. And so, the other night we scored late to win it. Tonight obviously our third period again was really solid, and that's what playoff hockey is. One team's going to make a mistake. You want to put as much pressure and do the things that you do well and force those teams to make that mistake.
I'm just curious, in a game like that's physical, hard and heavy, to have a pairing of Stanley and Shen deliver the way that they did physically, how much of an advantage is that in a series? We have a pair that kind of plays similar to one another and executes like that.
Yeah, those are two intimidating guys out there, and when we got Luke there, and it's the same with Stan. We want people to go the long way around to get to our net front, and if they're going in the corners to get pucks, we want to make sure that they know that it's not going to be an easy ride. But But that's everybody. I don't, those two they obviously jump out at you, especially with a couple of big hits. But that's everybody. I think our group our compete level is where it needs to be for playoff hockey. It's something we talked about from the very beginning, that it isn't just our big guys, our big heavy guys. It has to be everybody. And I thought our puck battles were real strong tonight. It started in the first period, on the walls, net fronts, off face-offs. Those areas, there was a lot of areas that we were certainly a lot stronger.
What did you see from the PK when the game was on the line?
Did the job. They got the job done. I don't care how it kind of goes about. Like I said, we had a great kill going there at the end of the first. We just kind of took our foot off the gas, and they made a bang play. And at the end of the day, all the other ones, though, I thought we did a fantastic job of being in sync. They all have their kind of different looks to them. St. Louis has great puck movement. They do a good job of finding the weak side of the ice, and just us being able to recognize that and get back, get in the next lane, so to speak, not allowing it, whether that's a shot or a pass. We just did a real good job of reading off each other.
Two really big effort plays by Scheifele, the net drive, and also how would you describe the subtlety of his ability to get inside position on Fowler in order to get the puck to Cole before the winner?
Well, that's your best players, playing at the top of their game, and that's what Scheifele has done. You can see that he's taken on that challenge. He's going head-to-head against their best player, and whether it's defending or whether he's offense with the puck, he has a strong skill set that we have seen all 82 games, and now he's taken it into this playoff series. And when your best players are your best players, that certainly goes a long way towards you helping win hockey games.
Scott, we spent all year talking about the evolution of Dylan Samberg, and part of the frustrating style that you guys played in the third was his ability to shut plays down at the blue line. What did you think of his performance?
Yeah, they got a real good quick transition game in the first period. We got caught a couple times with their D jumping in the rush, but when our D can be gapped and we can hold that, when we sort of defend from the blue line out there, when we don't allow teams to get like this, like St. Louis with their skill set, to allow them to get inside, to cut and go east-west. And that's where Sammy's really good. He's got great feet. But I thought our D did a really good job early on in the game. Even when they did have the odd man rushes, that we did a good job of playing above the blue line and trying to slow it up so that our trackers could get themselves back. And, Sammy, we know he's got a real good pair of feet that helps him do that.
And I'd imagine there's no better way to shut down a neutral zone play than Logan Stanley's hit on Jordan Kyrou. What kind of boost was that for your group?
Yeah, that's certainly it. Not like the period wasn't already up and running with a lot of physical hits both sides. I think that the crowd certainly came out of their shoes on that one, as everybody did. That was a big hit, but you got to give Kyrou an awful lot of credit. Man, he bounced right back, and it went both ways. We got hit a few times, and guys got back up, and that's what playoff hockey's all about. And these guys, they know it, and I love the way we kept sticking with it. And just hopefully that's part of what happens in series. You try to wear the opposition down. Who's going to give up first, and we just got to keep doing what we're doing.
In game one, you guys were maybe all over their breakout attempts. Your D jump at the blue line and cut things off. When this game started, they seemed to have a little bump back play there. So how did you guys adjust to that and keep them from getting up the ice like that?
Yeah, the one area for me has started that we've been very good on our forecheck, but we kept giving the puck to Binnington. And so that kind of eliminates one of our forwards, and then they got numbers above us with a quick play, and we did a better job as the game went on of keeping the puck away from him and not allowing him to kind of make that first pass, because he's a real good puck handler. And so, the bump back, those different things come when they have time and space, and that for us, when we can keep it away from the goalie, or they got to go back with pressure on top of them, they're not going to be able to make those sort of clean one-touch plays and get out of the zone. And we kind of cleaned that up after the first 6 or 7 minutes. I think we got the first time out there, and we talked about it and getting back to, trying to make sure that we do a better job of it.
The other question is just a takeaway from having talked to the guys, talk to you right now. It almost feels like you guys have come out here with more swagger after regular season wins. Are you sort of making a point of, hey, the job's not done? Is this an active message that you guys have right now?
Again, this is all game 3 now, all right? We'll do our post-game work and tomorrow or the next couple of days here, and the guys know how hard it is now. And then we like I mentioned after game 82, we learned some lessons about how to play in different buildings against different teams, different styles. You can never equal what happens in these playoffs, as you guys can probably tell, just how physical it is and how fast it is. It just, now the guys, they recognize this is how we have to play every game, and it's going to be a grind. They're going to be tight games. This is exactly, going into St. Louis is going to be tight like this again, and that's what we have to just stay in the moment, play each shift out, and hopefully we come out on the right side of it.
As a coach, I'm sure you're used to plenty of armchair coaches telling you that you're wrong about a lot of things. What was it that you saw in Logan Stanley that you knew he'd be able to become the player who affected a game, a series, the way he did today?
I think it's not just Logan, it's the whole team. I think that over the course of the year, we've had to use everybody, and we put you in there. If you're going to be in our lineup, then we expect you to do certain things. You need to play a certain way, and Logan plays a different way than Josh Morrissey plays, and so he needs to go out and play to his identity. And at the end of the day, he's been pretty consistent on how he's played for us, and I know that it's been in tough times that he didn't play all the games, but he's been great. His attitude's been great, and he knows when he goes in, he's gonna get an opportunity to show us what he can do, and he's done that so far. Thank you.
Jets head coach Scott Arniel tonight from the Matt Frost Media Center following the Jets' victory over the St. Louis Blues. This was a hard-fought victory, as we all saw. Bumps and bruises galore. I think it's a good thing for both teams that there's about 48 or so hours between these two games, because a lot of guys will be in the ice bath and nursing some bruises based on tonight's contest. Hard-hitting, tight-checking, sort of what we would have expected from a series between these two teams. The Jets, of course, get the early third-period goal that ultimately is the winner. This is the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. Drew and Ezzy, we are in our home studios. Dave is high above the ice in downtown Winnipeg at Canada Life Center. He's showing us the ice to prove that he is high above it. Yes, we can verify that Dave is within the confines of the arena. Just a really entertaining hockey game, as we can now delve deeper into tonight's post-game show, having heard from Montgomery, Arniel, Perfetti, and Dylan DeMello, Ezzy. But the Jets in the third period, again, 4 shots on goals for St. Louis, 2 shots on goal for St. Louis on Saturday night in the third period. It's impressive what the Jets have done with a lead inside the final 20 minutes of this series.
Yeah, and according to Natural Stat Trick, there were no high danger chances for the St. Louis Blues at even strength, right? So really impressive. And, our colleague Connor Harabchuk asked head coach Scott Arniel about Dylan Sandberg, who led all players in ice time, both teams. What's the answer, boys? I think you know the answer. It's Dylan Sandberg. He was an absolute beast tonight out there. Remember, he made that amazing play right before Jimmy Snuggerud scored in the first period to knock that pass away from, that scoring chance away from Jake Neighbors right in front of the net, right? But, going back to, just Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor, guys, 9 points in the first 2 games. And it's Captain Obvious to say that Scheifele, Connor, Iafallo, they have to be the Jets' top line, but they really have. Like, the play that Scheifele makes on Cam Fowler, which allows Cole Perfetti to get the puck to Kyle Connor for the game-winning goal, but also just the way he played defensively, the way he's the way he's composed out there and just leading by example. And, we could go up and down the lineup, impressive performances. We talked about Logan Stanley and Braden Shen. By the way, just going back to Jim Montgomery, I mean, we had a lot of interviews there back to back, right, boys? But it was a surprise that the Blues went with 7 defensemen. We had Jeremy Rutherford on the pregame show, and we didn't know that they were going to play Tyler Tucker over Matthew Joseph.
So Matthew
it's the first time, by the way, that the Blues have done that this year, Drew.
Well, so good point there about that being the first time, Dave. But it's interesting. Remember when we had Jeremy on, a few hours ago? Jeremy Ruther just popped on. He happened to be walking by our broadcast location at City Place, and he mentioned Matthew Joseph wouldn't be typically in the lineup for the Blues, but he's only playing because of the injury to Dylan Holloway. Now, I don't know that was foreshadowing by Jeremy, but I found it to be really interesting that he ended up getting taken out of the lineup unexpectedly sort of as a last-minute lineup change by Jim Montgomery, and he was the player that that Jeremy Rutherford sort of highlighted in our conversation with him during the pregame show.
Yeah, no, you're right, Drew. And it was unexpected. We were kind of talking about it, and at one point, I think someone, I won't name names, but it was like, "Who's 75?" I'm like, "Yeah, it was a late scratch that the Blues kind of did, so we weren't expecting it, but sure enough, they did." There was some more warm-up shenanigans.
Yeah.
Mark Scheifele wasn't happy with the Winnipegger Joel Hofer because he was shooting some pucks that weren't getting off the ice, but the shenanigans aside, it was a really good hockey game. I mean, honestly, like I was talking to some AHL guys, and they were like, they kept saying to me, "This is a really good hockey game." And so when pro hockey players are telling you how good a hockey game is, not that we need you be a pro to be able to tell you that that's a good hockey game, but it was just interesting to kind of get their perspective. And they were like, they were really enjoying it. They said that first period was one of the best first periods they've ever seen. And so
it was high level hockey.
It really was. And it really is a fascinating series. And look, we all said, I mean, look, it's funny. I was starting to feel a little bit nervous about my Jets in 5 prediction, Ezzy, during game 1, but it's looking a little bit more, looking a little bit better now. But the one thing we did universally, I believe, say was that we all expected this to be a much tighter game. We knew that St. Louis was going to bring a much more significant effort. And I got to say that Braden Shen, I mean, the guy, I don't know that he actually is interested in touching the puck other than when he's taking a face-off, but he is like a human wrecking ball out there. I mean, there was one shift, he hit 3 guys, and it was funny because, as I said, I was talking to one of the guys, and I said to him, I could see developing that Lowry was going to get walloped because Lowry kind of got blocked by one of his players, and Shen was just looking for someone. And it was right after the Stanley hit on Kyrou, and I thought, wow, Lowry's just going to get walloped. And again, he did, but you know what he did? He got knocked down and got back up again. I mean, you're never going to knock him down or keep him down or whatever it is. So, it was a hit parade in the first, much like we had speculated maybe it would be. I didn't think it was going to be as much as it was the last game, but really enjoyable hockey game from both perspectives. And I mean, Jordan Binnington made some excellent saves. Connor Hellebuck was called upon to make some big stops. So, it was kind of a really good hockey game. Like, again, as he's right, it doesn't have to be, a 6 to 10 goal affair in order for it to be classified as enjoyable. And that was definitely an enjoyable hockey game.
This was a high-level playoff game. I mean,
sorry, Drew. I was just going to quickly one of my favorite parts of tonight's broadcast, by the way, Harner Ryan and John Garrett are doing an excellent job. Just an absolute pleasure to listen to that duo. One of my favorite parts was when they showed the hits leaders on each team, and it was Shen 6, Shen 5. Like, just awesome. Obviously, the Shen parents, they're a little bit nervous. Maybe dad's cheering for Luke and then mom is cheering for Braden. I'm not sure, but I'm 100% with you, Dave, about Braden Shen. Like, this guy is like, his style of play is made for the playoffs, right? Yeah. He was obviously a huge part of the Stanley Cup win in 2019, but it kind of goes back to what Drew was saying, right? We knew there was going to be a push, but the St. Louis Blues they don't have a Mark Scheifele. They don't have a Kyle Connor. Yes, Robert Thomas is a nice player. Jordan Kyrou, we talked about, he had a good scoring chance in the first period, and then I think he fell asleep after that hit on by Logan Stanley after that. Good on him for getting to the bench himself, honestly. Like, just a reminder that Logan Stanley is 6'7", 230 plus pounds. So that's like getting hit by a Brinks truck. So good on Jordan Kyrou for getting to the bench. But yeah, there was physicality in this game. And, I was probably the most impressed by the penalty kill, obviously, right? Like, Jimmy Snuggerud scores that goal with, 1.2 seconds left?
0.8.
Like 0.8. There you go. I wasn't sure, Dave, because I saw them at one point they put a little bit more time up. I guess they took it away. But
they may have, but just the time that was on the clock was 1.8.
Yeah, regardless, whether it's 0.8, 1.6, whatever it is.
It was late in the period.
Yeah, it was less than 2 seconds, right, Dave? Yeah. And, I mean, that was obviously a demoralizing goal. Dave, you can talk to how quiet that building got after that Snuggerud goal was scored.
Oh, there's no question about it, because the Jets really did have a lot going for them, right? They had the momentum. They had again, it was just a really good hockey game, and both teams were hitting. Both teams were getting some chances. I don't know where the high danger chances ended up, Drew, but it was
14-4. Pardon me, 12-3 in the Jets' favor.
Okay, but
at 5-on-5.
Yeah, 5-on-5. but again, like I said, it was the only thing that was disappointing to me in the first period was the penalties, because I was just like, I didn't love. To be clear, I didn't love the penalties against St. Louis. I didn't love the penalties. What's going on here? I didn't. What's going on? Who's changing the
That was me.
I think I hit the wrong button by
Mindy,
mistake.
trying to be all fancy. But anyways, this isn't the Kenny and Rennie show. That'll be later. So no, I mean that was an impressive hockey game. And look, I mean, we talk about the idea of the Jets needing to exercise demons, right? The Jets had the last 2 years won game 1, and then we know, everybody in this chat knows what happened in game 2. Now, again, to be clear, this team is, and I've been saying it. Well, I think we've been saying it, but I said it throughout the course of like today's on illegalcurve.com and the afternoon links when people are talking about game 2 and like blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, look, this is a different team. Scott Arniel has pretty much spent almost every media availability with us reinforcing this idea that this is not the same team as it was last year. And even though it's largely the same, and he's not wrong. I mean, we saw it. There is an adherence to a structure. They don't get out of it. I mean, I'm not saying that they never have, but again, like I said, this was a game to exercise those demons, to be able to say, listen, we're taking game 2, and okay, we've got a 2-0 series lead, and we'll go to St. Louis, and they'll keep it rolling, trying to give themselves guys like Gabriel Velarde, Nikolai Ehlers some more time to heal if they can, and they're hoping that Colorado and Dallas, which I believe Dallas just took a 2-1 lead.
Nope, Colorado tied it up already, 2-2.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, regardless of what the actual end score is, they're hoping that it's going to be a long series, because the Jets are hoping to make it a short one.
Yeah, Dallas scored, and then it took Colorado 62 seconds to tie it up. That's early in the second period. We'll bring you more on the out-of-town scoreboard later on during the post-game show.
Yeah, Drew, I was just going to mention, Dave used the words adherence to a structure, and it's really the case, right? Like, the Jets needed the goal. They got the goal from Connor, and we've seen this so many times this year, especially later in the season, where whether the Jets have a goal lead, a 2-goal lead, they can lock it down, and that's what they're doing. So when you say adherence to a structure, it's really not just words, right? Like, they have proven that they can play this type of hockey. And that was the big criticism of the Jets in the 2 years under Rick Bowness, right? It was, they give up that late goal, or they wouldn't be able to shut it down when they needed to most. But they've done this time and time again. And guys, I just wanted to mention, Drew, one thing quickly here. Mm-hmm. I don't know how quickly I have to mention it, but after the Blues took that timeout and Jordan Binnington was pulled, like, the Blues couldn't get in the Jets zone. Right. And you got an extra attacker. Your season's not on the line, but you're desperate to win game 2. Going down, like I remind people, it's just statistically really hard to win 4 of the last 5 games. I'm not saying that the Blues can't do it, but what I'm saying is the stakes were extremely high, and the Blues just couldn't get anything going in the Jets zone. So it was really impressive what the Jets did. I liked all around, really, like, we always talk about the Jets playing connected hockey, but whether it was the Scheifele line, whether it was the Nemestikov line, the Lowry line, the Gustafsson. Remember, Gustafsson had that chance late in the third period, right? Like, this was a complete team effort, and the Blues threw the kitchen sink at the Jets in the first 2 periods. And in the third period, once the Jets got the 2-1 lead, they said, okay, we're not giving you anything now. We're taking game 2, and it's over.
Well, I think your point about the 6-on-5 play when Binnington was pulled, the Jets, I mean, and it wasn't like it was a short-term 6-on-5.
It was a couple minutes.
It was, no, that's what I'm saying. That's more than enough time usually for a team to be able to at least establish themselves. They had some zone time, but everything was kept to the outside. The Jets did a marvelous job of clearing the pucks out, without taking an icing penalty at that, I'll add. I mean, that was really, to me, just how impressive it was from the Jets in keeping St. Louis, out of the high danger areas, keeping St. Louis away from the dangerous spots when you have a man advantage. And to do that and adhere to your structure when the opposition has an extra player on the ice is even doubly so with the impressive nature of it. I thought that was just, again, the Jets play in the final periods of this series has been the difference.
Yes.
I mean, it's been the difference. The Jets, they got the early goal in the third period tonight. That was the game winner. They got the late goal in the third period. That was the winner on Saturday after getting the tying goal in the third period. But these games have been so close after 40 minutes that the Jets' margin has been their play in the third period. It's been that they have been that much better than St. Louis over the final 20 minutes of this game. You heard Jim Montgomery talking about that, in the Matt Frost Media Center. He said the Jets are just making one play more than we are. And I would even argue to say that it's more than just one play because they're getting it done offensively, but at the same time, also just limiting St. Louis defensively. And by the way, Connor Hellebuyck looked pretty good in today's game as well.
Yeah, he looked really good, Dave, and especially in the first period, right? Like there were saves, like we talked about the Cam Fowler save, the Jimmy Snuggerud chance. I'm forgetting there was another chance in there. They had like 4 or 5 shots in the first 5 minutes, and Hellebuyck was making the saves. He kept making all the stops, as you like to say, right, Dave? But Hellebuyck has done that time and time again, guys. When he lets in 3 goals, like letting in 3 goals for Hellebuyck is like letting in 6 goals for another goaltender, right? Like Hellebuyck, as you guys know, does not like to allow any goals. So he was really good tonight. And look, Blues have 10 shots in the first period. Well, they only had 12 shots the next 2 periods. So the Jets have done an excellent job at keeping things to the outside, not giving the Blues a lot. Like, by the way, guys, was there one single odd man rush in this game? Like there was maybe like a few.
One, I think Perfetti and the Mesnikov had a 2-on-1 that didn't actually materialize into anything because the Blues defender made a nice play to knock away the pass. But to your point, though, Ezzy, that's how tight checking this game was. There weren't any odd man rush. That was the only one that sort of comes to mind. The Luke Schenn breakaway.
I was going to say
was an exception.
Okay, for a guy that wasn't a very good hockey player. Okay, I'm talking about myself.
You're talking about yourself or Luke Schenn?
Who was slow. Like I felt like there was a little bit of Luke Schenn in me there, like or me and Luke Schenn, like seeing like a big boy like Luke Schenn come out of the penalty box and have a partial breakaway. Like I honestly thought he was just going to bowl Jordan Binnington over, boys. Like honestly, like Scheifele did in the first period.
I was going to say which time that would be like the 4th time that happened in the game.
Yeah. So I mean, this game was like Drew just mentioned. Tight checking, hard fought, not a lot of ice, not a lot of odd man rushing. Game. Exactly. Like this was like, look, everybody is watching the Jets right now. The whole hockey world is watching the Jets in terms of the whiteout. And again, shout out to everybody. Like we were there at City Place, obviously, and we were walking around and driving around downtown and seeing the whiteout street party. Like just another shout out to the fans for turning it up and turning out tonight. Again, like we already know, guys, Jets fans are the best fans in the world, but again, they showed why that's the case. So just wanted to get that in there. It was loud again. The only time it wasn't loud, as we talked about, was when Jimmy Snuggerud scored late in the first period. So just an overall really impressive team performance.
Dave, after the Blues get the tying goal, they then get the next. They have the rest of the power plays for the remainder of the game, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to double check that right now. But really,
they had 3 in a row, Drew.
They had 4 in a row.
4 in a row. 4 in a row.
Oh, so 4 in a row. Yeah.
The DeMello goal, the tripping penalty on Buchnevich that DeMello took that led to the goal, and then the 2 in the second period, the Scheifele holding the stick, the Stanley cross check, and then the abysmal Luke Schenn roughing penalty against Jake Neighbors in the third.
I still can't believe that was called.
Well, a ridiculous call to make under any circumstances. Well, never mind a 1-goal game in the third period. But we have to talk about the Jets stepping up on the penalty kill
for sure
to really nullify St. Louis's opportunities. The 2 in the second period when it was a tie game, and then again in the third period when they were trailing by a goal.
Yeah, no, there's no question about it. I mean, the PK, we talked about it. Special teams. I mean, it was a huge factor in the game in game 1, and we were curious as to whether it would be a factor in this one. We didn't anticipate, like I said, the nature of those penalty calls, which I didn't like. But at the end of the day, you still have to kill them. You don't get to sit there and complain that you don't like the penalties. So the penalty kill had to step up, and that's exactly what they did. And there were some, critical plays. I mean, guys had the ability to get pucks out and not. I mean, the one that stands out to me, I mean, I don't think it wasn't on the PK, but Mark Scheifele clearing that puck out from behind Connor Hellebuyck, I think, when he made that play. So it was right after
off the Robert Thomas shot where he got it. Like Hellebuyck got it up high on.
It kind of climbed up and over Hellebuyck, and and then
it was weird.
And Mark Scheifele again, credit him. Like he's not cheating for offense, right? That's
like you said. Sorry, Dave. I was going to say, like you said, this is shades of 2018 Mark Scheifele when he scored 14 goals.
It is honestly, like I'm because he's not getting it. Like, I mean, that was a power move towards Jordan Binnington. Like, regardless, and we'll get into it obviously, but like that was Mark Scheifele 17-18, and it's not just the goal. It's the way he's moving, the way he's finding guys, and again, defensively, because that was 17-18. Mark Scheifele wasn't necessarily the defensive stalwart that he may be now, a little bit more so, but plays like that where he's not cheating for offense, where he's protecting the net and ensuring that he's able to help his goaltender who's all world. Well, that's a kind of play that wins teams championships, because you have that commitment to defense. And so, yeah, I mean, again, look, it's 2 games. You're not going to, declare anything more than just that. But it's a pretty big step, because again, the PK was the big concern. It's been my concern all year long. We talked about it, and I wonder how much energy. I mean, look, there's no question that we talked about the idea of harnessing the energy, and Mason Appleton had that comment, Desi, about how it's insane and it's incredible and it's crazy that the whiteout crowd, and they were great again tonight, of course, no surprise there, but the idea was that this team was able to really harness the energy from the PKs, because the crowd, who didn't like the penalties, again, obviously, were really enthusiastic.
Dave, didn't you start that "ref you suck" chant?
I did not. I did not want to be
very
escorted
inappropriate
out of
from the press box, Dave.
Yeah, I would not do that. I mean, I can make an observation, but I don't think I would start yelling that from the press box. But no, it was though clear that, I mean, again, the fans were a big boost in that regard. That's where I think they're able to get a little energy from, as Dean Chenoweth would call it, the power kill.
Well, you know what? And we're about to get into the Play Now game recap. Only 3 goals to get through, so
we're in no rush.
Yeah, we are in no rush. We're already, almost 50 minutes into this Illegal Curve post-game show. More than 800 of you are watching us live. So if you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn your notifications on. In addition, be sure to join us Thursday night at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue, the Illegal Curve watch party and live on location post-game show. Thursday night's Game 3 between the Blues and the Jets. It's going to be a late night. You're going to be watching the game regardless. If you're at home, you might fall asleep. So come join us at Boston Pizza, where you're unlikely to fall asleep in the rowdy crowd that will be there cheering your Winnipeg Jets on. So that's coming up on Thursday night.
And just to note, Drew will be buying fish bowls for everybody in attendance.
You're talking about some other Drew, and I thank him for doing that, because it sure as heck isn't Drew Mandel. You should all know better than that to expect that from me. What I wanted to mention, though, just before we go to break, again, Joel Hofer's gamesmanship with Mark Scheifele, I understand it. You're the backup goalie. Backup goalies should be like kickers in football. Seen but not heard from. We know nobody cares what the backup goalie's doing. Get off the ice, Joel Hofer. I know that you're trying to do whatever mind games you're trying to pull here, but it's trash. It's not necessary. Just get off the ice. You're the backup goalie. You're not in the game. Sit in there in your little stool, in your little runway. Maybe have a hot dog or something, but get off the ice before Mark Scheifele does.
Tell us how you really feel, Drew. I love it.
You're not playing in the game. You have no role right now. You're a kicker. It's like a kicker trash talking. Don't do it. You're the backup goalie. Seen, not heard from. Just be better than that.
Well,
Joel Hofer.
Scheifele's performance tonight obviously proves that Joel Hofer made the mistake of doing that, because Scheifele was just ignoring it. Like they said on the broadcast, Drew, I'm sure you heard this. They were saying Scheifele could have, shot pucks back at Joel Hofer, but he just kind of motioned and said, okay, get off. It's enough. Right. This is my arena, even though you're from Winnipeg. But yeah, I mean, I think it's funny. But I see your point of view as well.
I don't mind if you do shoot a couple. I mean, he shot pucks down the length of the ice before game 1 as well. So this is clearly what he's trying to do for whatever reason. But again, you can shoot a couple pucks, but get off the ice and just have some regard for your opponent. Because really, again, you're the backup goalie. All you're doing is maybe sticking some needles under one of the best goal scorers and one of the best players in the NHL. I just don't know.
And Drew, maybe what he should have done, Joel Hofer, that is he should have done rock, paper, scissors like Tyler Seguin did back in the day with Mark Scheifele. Maybe that would have been a better plan than shooting pucks.
I thought just be done with it. Shoot a couple pucks, get your 2 cents in, and then move on is how I would feel about the whole thing. But anyways, obviously Hofer will get the advantage, or maybe he'll be the last guy on the ice against Scheifele when the series shifts to St. Louis on Thursday night. Much more to talk about tonight, so why don't we get into it? It is, of course, called the Illegal Curve Play Now Game Recap.
The Play Now Game Recap.
Look, if I'm getting praise from our buddy Joe Pascucci, it's got to stay there on the screen. It's not every day I get that kind of praise from Joe, so I got to take my W when I can take it and say thank you very much, Joe.
I'll admit, Drew, I'm very jealous right now.
Exactly right. This is the Illegal Curve post-game show. It is presented by our friends at Play Now. Don't bet on illegal sites. Bet with Play Now instead. Manitoba's local, legal, and secure gambling site. 18 plus. Enjoy responsibly. Big thanks to our friends at Play Now for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show and all of our programming. We mentioned this game, the game flow. St. Louis, I thought, we talked about it on the pregame show with Kenny Wiebe at City Place. I thought the Jets were going to come out stronger than they actually did in today's game. St. Louis, again, was the better of the two teams for the first 5 or so minutes of this game. Connor Hellebuyck had to bring his A game to start. He had a number of high danger chances, the areas of the ice that the Blues typically aren't able to get to against the Jets, and opponents aren't against the Jets. The Blues were able to get there, and Hellebuyck was sharp and on his game and at the top of his blue paint early on in tonight's contest before the Jets were able to sort of get their legs under them, aided, I thought, by that the Radek Faksa tripping call against Morgan Barron, that coming just about the 6:20 mark of the first period. I thought that sort of allowed the Jets to settle down, even though they didn't have success on that power play attempt, Ezzy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was a bit of a lazy penalty by Radek Faksa, to be honest with you. But I don't think that the Jets I don't think it was nerves like we talked about. Like the first game, obviously, everything's new, right? The crowd noise, you're trying to make sure that you do all the right things early on. But we all agreed that the Jets were a little bit nervous in the first period. I just thought the Blues came out and were playing really well and kind of had the Jets on their heels. And yeah, there was a few opportunities where I thought that, some of the zone entries were maybe a little bit too easy. And I thought maybe the Jets were a little bit too passive. But again, like I'll say this again, even though the Jets are up 2-0 in this series, I think this Blues team has to be given a lot of credit. Like I thought that they gave their best tonight. Like that was their all. And their all only got them 1 goal on the Winnipeg Jets. So again, that's a testament to how well the Jets played defensively, right? Like this was not the Jets' best offensive game, guys. Like let's not kid ourselves here. Like the Jets might have had the majority of high danger chances, but when you talk about like the zone time and everything like that, it was fairly even, at least through the first couple periods. It was. Third period, maybe a little bit less so, but the first period was not great for the Jets. But they still ended up getting a goal, and I still liked how they were playing for the most part. I just thought that the Blues showed how desperate they were, right, Dave?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Big thanks to Perry here for this. He says how happy being up 2 games in series despite crap refereeing. Or thanks to Perry for that. And no, you're right, Ezzy. I thought that it was that unexpected for me. I thought that the Jets were going to try and again harness that emotion and dominate that opening period. But you got to credit the St. Louis Blues. They know how much is at stake. I talked about it. I asked Kenny Wiebe about it on the pregame show. I said, Ken, like the Blues have to realize what a big missed opportunity it was for them in game 1 when Hellebuyck is not at his A game. They're taking advantage. They got 2 power play goals.
Mm-hmm.
They know that they missed that opportunity. They don't want to miss another one because, quite frankly, again, the Jets have been the way that played all year long. It's not going to be easy if you go down 2-0. Not obviously, nothing's impossible, but wouldn't be. You're digging yourself a very big hole. And so, and we heard it from Jeremy, right? Jeremy Rutherford. He said that or maybe it was Kenny. Sorry, he said like this team isn't happy just to be here. They know that again, they don't have the same horses, right? It's not like this is more of a Manitoba Derby versus the Kentucky Derby. I love the Manitoba Derby. but not necessarily seeing those horses in the Kentucky Derby. And I think that from that perspective, the St. Louis Blues are a very good team. I just think the Jets are a better team, and it's showing. And it's interesting, right? I don't mean to go backwards, but it's interesting how many people were upset about the Jets getting the St. Louis Blues in the first round and being like, whatever they're lamenting. And look how well the Jets have played. And again, I don't think it would have mattered if they played Minnesota or Calgary. I think the Jets would have done the same to any of their first round opponents because I just think they're the better of the two teams. But I just think it's interesting that a team as hot as St. Louis, remember, this is a team that had won 12 straight, lost to the Jets, then lost to the Oilers. And then I don't remember, I know they won maybe their last game, but the point is they've now lost 2 straight to the Winnipeg Jets, 3 straight if you include the regular season game, right? So, and again, obviously I know there's previous other regular season games, but I'm talking about in close proximity. So they knew what was at stake, and they came out like it looked they knew what was at stake, and they were very good to start that game.
Boys, I think in a way the Blues were the perfect first round opponent for the Jets. Like the Blues are like, again, we're a Winnipeg Jets show, a Winnipeg Jets postgame show, and a Winnipeg Jets Saturday show, but you have to tip your cap to the way the Blues have played. Look, they were a minute and a half from getting that game to overtime, and the game was tied going into the third period, right? So, like, both of these games really could have gone into overtime.
It's like we talked about on Saturday's show, Ezzy, that the Jets are 15% better than the St. Louis Blues, on paper. That's
how does one quantify that?
Well, I mean, I'm making up numbers.
I would say, Drew, that it's more like 14.5%.
That could be. I'll listen to your argument for saying it's 14.5% instead of 15. But I think you're seeing that difference. That when push comes to shove, when it's the most crucial moments of these games, the Jets have that extra reserve that they can tap into.
It's like Chris Merrills is saying on the chat there. They're battle tested.
Sure. St. Louis, I don't think, has that extra. They are, I mean, they're giving it their all. They're playing their hearts out, and they're falling just a bit short, which is a very difficult situation to be in if you're St. Louis. Now, at the same time, if you're the Blues, and after 2 games, you're saying, look, if the Jets have if the Jets all of a sudden are a quarter of a step slower, we're right in this series. We're right in this game. We can play with them. It's just that it's almost incumbent on the Jets beating themselves rather than the Blues beating the Jets, which is which is sort of the position I think that, the Blues find themselves in after 2 games of this series. Go ahead, Dave, before we get to the Scheifele goal.
Well, the only other thing I wanted to say, and I'm sure Ezzy's going to love this, but got to credit the fourth line. I thought they were excellent again in this hockey game.
baby.
They all 3, David, the Gus Bus had a chance. They played a really again, they don't get a lot of minutes. We know that they're not ever going to be probably even double digits unless, the game's out of hand one way or the other. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I thought that the fourth line was noticeable for all the right reasons. They got some offensive zone draws, and they had some really good chances to score some goals. So credit those guys, because again, those are the guys who are often unheralded and often not get held up to the same or are not lauded, I should say, the way like the Scheifele and Connors and even Alex Iafallo is right now. And so, to me, I just was watching this game and I kept saying this fourth line is noticeable for all the right reasons. They're doing all the things that you want them to do, and they've become really reliable, which is amazing, as we talked about with Kenny, given how the Jared Anderson Dolan wasn't even in this roster as of 7 games before the so I guess game 75 or whatever it was. So pretty awesome the way they've been playing, and they've stepped up in the playoffs.
To your point, shot attempts 4-1 for the Winnipeg Jets fourth line, and an expected goals percentage of just under 90%. So they certainly did step up for the Winnipeg Jets and have been effective in their limited time. And of course, now that St. Louis gets the last change, they're going to need, Scott Arniel is going to need that fourth line to continue this strong, solid play, because they're going to get some less favorable matchups against some of the Blues' best guns. And that's, of course, going to happen Thursday night, starting with game 3 in St. Louis. The Jets do open the scoring in this game, and it's Mark Scheifele with a burr in his saddle. The Jets have the Blues hemmed into their own zone, and the Blues do nothing but try and desperately clear the puck out, which they do, but they desperately clear it out right onto the stick of Dylan DeMello. Dylan DeMello headmans the puck right up the ice immediately to Mark Scheifele as he vacates the blue zone. He turns, he gets an inside position on Nick Leddy. He drops the shoulder. He drives hard at Binnington, and Binnington makes the poke check, but Jimmy Snuggerud, to his credit, is coming back hard to try and prevent there from being a rebound or being an opportunity, subsequent opportunity. But what he does is he accidentally carries the puck past Binnington into his own net. An own goal, but an own goal based on effort as opposed to error, I would say. And it's a 1-0 Winnipeg Jets lead. But you have to love that version of Mark Scheifele just saying, I'm better than you are, Nick Leddy, and I'm going to show it to everybody, the 15,000 and change, and the millions watching on TV, and proving it right there that he is going to carry this Winnipeg Jets team in this series.
Yeah, and Mark Scheifele, he kind of uses that lower body strength, and he skates around Nick Leddy, and obviously Leddy falls down. So Scheifele has an opportunity to now go backhand to forehand. But like you said, Jimmy Snuggerud comes in, only his second career playoff game, and obviously he comes in and he tries to make a play, tries to make a hit on Scheifele, and ends up putting the puck in off of his skate. But let's be honest here, guys. Like, this was as pretty of a goal that goes off a skate as you're going to see, right? Like, it was, like you said,
pretty Drew, of an ugly goal as you're going to see.
Exactly, and like Scheifele deserves a lot of credit. Yeah, and you mentioned DeMello makes a nice pass up to Scheifele, but Scheifele, let's be honest, it's all him here taking it to the net and driving the net, and he did that in the second period as well. Sorry, I think I mentioned earlier that it was the first period when he went into Jordan Binnington, but it was actually the second period. But if you guys remember, I think it was Cam Fowler who, if I'm not mistaken, right, Dave, who pushed Scheifele into Binnington. So that's why they didn't go all crazy on him and start punching him, because I think they all realized that it was Fowler who pushed Scheifele into Binnington. And
I don't know. It's funny, Braden was kind of giving Scheifele a little bit.
He came over. He came over, but you can see he didn't go full tilt on him.
No, you're right.
Because I think he realized that, that was all Fowler pushing him into Binnington. And look, whenever that happens, like, I'm sure some Jets fans were maybe hoping that Binnington was injured. I'm kidding, obviously, but I mean, Binnington gets up and he's fine. So no harm, no foul.
Credit for a guy who, sometimes loses control of his emotions and maybe takes himself out of the game. And John Garrett referenced this as well on the broadcast. He stayed in the moment. He didn't get carried away. He didn't go all cuckoo bananas.
He didn't go full Ron Hextall on Mark Scheifele.
He didn't go full Hextall at all, and again, I think that Binnington needs to have that composure. I know he likes to play, gets the energy from that. But if he had lost his composure there, I think that would have been to the detriment of his teammates and of the St. Louis Blues in general. So credit to him for just sort of dusting himself off. Scheifele, the same thing, dusting themselves off and moving on with the play when that happened in the second period. But before that, the St. Louis Blues tied the game. This happened very late in the first period. We talked about it with under 2 seconds to play on the clock. Jimmy Snuggerud. By the way, Snuggerud's going to be a hell of a hockey player, especially as he continues to develop.
He's good. He's got a great shot. Great shot.
Beautiful shot here. It's his first certainly in the playoffs. Pavel Buchnevich and Cam Fowler getting the assists on this one. It comes just at the tail end of the first period. Snuggerud gets some soft spot, on the inside the face-off circle. Nice pass by Buchnevich. Pionk is just a little slow getting out there and up on it. I thought Hellebuyck was a little deep as well, but a real great shot, top shelf, short side by Snuggerud to tie the game up at 1 with seconds to play in the first period, Dave.
Yeah, the look on Connor Hellebuck's face, like he looks like absolutely shocked that he got beat by it. Like, you can just see him looking and he's like, wait, what? How did that beat me? I blocked it, but no, it was a hell of a good shot. I mean, you are absolutely right, Drew. That is, as we talked about with Jeremy, he is one very good young player. And we know that, as Jeremy said, that, a lot of emotion in his first playoff game coming straight out of college, and he did not look intimidated. Do I look nervous? No, he did not look nervous. And so that was a hell of a good goal. And that was, I believe, was that his first ever? No, he had a goal against Utah. So he has scored in the regular season, but that was his first playoff goal. But a really nice goal, carbon copy of the goal that the Blues scored against the Jets in game one. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those plays that you think that the Jets are. I mean, there's 6 seconds left in the penalty. There's only 1.8. They've done a pretty good job on the kill.
Yeah.
And I just think that the Blues took advantage. I mean, the initial shot goes wide, and then they rim it around, and then they're able to get the benefit of a good pass, and you got to credit them. He found Snuggerud in position, and again, I'm shocked a little bit that Hellebuyck gets beat from that angle, but it is a hell of a good shot.
Well, yeah, and one other thing, sorry, Drew, I was just going to mention is it looked like Pionk's stick might have got the, but then they showed the replay and he just beat him clean, right? And if there is a weakness, we've talked about it on Hellebuyck, it is a little bit on that blocker side, like you remember in previous
every
years.
Every goalie in the NHL, by the way.
Well, exactly. Yeah, no, that's true. It's fair point. And obviously, like Hellebuyck's puck handling, even though it's got better, it's not his strength either. But
his puck handling in that third
behind
period.
Behind the net, it was good.
He almost scored a goal there, guys, with the empty net.
I think he would have thought about it if the Jets had a 2-goal lead at that point in time instead of just the 1-goal lead. But
I'd say
he did a real nice job, Dave, to your point. And, knocking the puck down when the Blues were rimming it around late in the third period and trying to gain possession in the Jets zone.
Yeah.
Quickly, I'll just say quickly, both goaltenders did a great job in that regard. Both goaltenders, Binnington as well, was really good at knocking down pucks and getting it to. I mean, he had a couple of, with Adam Lowry, I think it was the shorthanded chances where the Jets got the puck out of the zone and they sent in the forechecker. And then there were a couple times where Binnington had to make a quick decision. But he's
and then in the third period, right, Dave? He does cough up the puck, and Cole Perfetti missed the net there, and then you could see on his. By the way, guys. We did show Cole Perfetti and Dylan DeMello speaking after the game, thanks to our videographer extraordinaire, Colby Spence. I did see him smile. Cole Perfetti is capable of smiling. There was a little segment there where Dylan DeMello told a joke, or he had Perfetti laughing. So I just wanted to get that in there. For all those people that don't think Cole, I'm obviously being sarcastic here, guys.
No,
but
really?
I mean, Cole Perfetti was excellent. We'll get into the next goal here, obviously, right away. But
Perfetti really. I mean, he looked skyward because he had the game on his stick.
It was an empty net, right?
Yeah, 99 times out of 100, he scores that goal. He just shot it. I think he was so surprised to have that much time and that much of a net that he just shot it short side wide, and he won't make that mistake again. But again, to your point though, Dave, and Scott Arniel spoke about it in his post-game comments. For a while there in the first period, the Jets were putting their dump-ins in the spot that allowed Binnington to transition the puck up the ice before the Jets could get on their forecheck. And he is a good puck handler, and it's an advantage for the Jets. They have to be conscious of where they're putting the puck when they go in for the dump and chase, because if it's on Binnington's stick, it's going to transition out too quickly before the Jets can establish their forechecking system. And they got better with that as the game went on. So 1-1 after 20 minutes. No scoring in the second period. The first period of the 6 that have been played so far that has had no goals scored in it. Chances for both teams. I have a note here. There was the who had a good chance here? David Gustafson had a chance, and then Adam Lowry followed that up on the same shift with another good chance. But Jordan Binnington has been very good in this series. He was very good in that sequence.
I think Drew is becoming a Jordan Binnington fan. I think that's what's happening here.
He's been very good. Look, I'm
bugging you, Drew. I'm bugging you.
I know. He's not my style of goaltender. I find him to be a little bit too emotional, a little bit too erratic. But credit where credit is due is that he has been very good for the St. Louis Blues in the course of this series.
He always seems to show up when the games matter the most.
Yeah, and that's credit to him. Being a big game goaltender is certainly a good position to be in. He really, he has a, it's hard to blame him on the game-winning goal. It's hard to blame him.
The only other thing that you should mention, though, in that second period, because I thought, again, it was a bit of a tone setter. There wasn't a ton of stuff, but there was that second Logan Stanley hit. He had
the one on Robert Thomas.
On Robert Thomas. I thought that was a really good one behind the net. So, again, we have to credit Logan Stanley. I mean, I thought he was making also the right plays. He was making a lot of really good short passes, and we heard from him this morning after during the media availability. He talked about playing with a guy like Luke Schenn and how he's learning so much from him.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I thought he made a lot of the right decisions around the net, around the Jets net, and there weren't adventures in Logan Stanley. He was consistent and like much like the most of the team. And I just liked a lot of the short passes to get the puck out of a danger spot. And I just thought he was good like that. But again, I thought most of the team was like that. But I think it bears mentioning because, the hits were not, he didn't have to take himself out of the play to make those hits. He wasn't doing something that was like, detrimental to his team. And again, I mean, the whole crowd, I took a video of it because the whole crowd was like buzzing after the Kyrou hit. They were going off. So, I mean, it got the crowd. I mean, he didn't really need to get the crowd into it because they already were, but it got them even more so.
Well, of all the Jets D pairings, Stanley and Schenn led the team with a 63% expected goals percentage.
Look at that. Take that, advanced stats.
Well, there you go. I don't think anybody would have necessarily expected that, but both those guys were very solid in the course of tonight's game. And they were on the ice for what ended up being the game-winning goal. I mean, pardon me, Schenn was, Stanley wasn't, but the game-winning goal, Morrissey sends it over to Schenn. Schenn is the one who sends it in deep. And then Scheifele beats Cam Fowler, gets it over to Perfetti. Perfetti out front.
I don't know if I'd say he got it over to Perfetti more than it just kind of like went to Perfetti.
Well, he had inside position on Kenny asked the question twice in the post-game pressers. Kenny Weeb, that is. He had the inside position on Cam Fowler that allows the puck to come to Perfetti at the very least. And Perfetti finds Kyle Connor in front. Pavel Buchnevich, who, by the way, has not been very good for St. Louis in this series. They need more from him. He's not covering Kyle Connor. He's covering absolutely nobody. And Kyle Connor, between the hash marks, oh, by the way, Jordan Binnington somehow has lost his stick as well, is a bad recipe for success for the St. Louis Blues. But it's a good recipe for our Seagram shot of the game.
The Seagram shot of the game.
Big thanks to our friends at Seagram's for their continued support. Whatever your drink of choice is, make sure it is a Seagram's product. Perhaps Seagram's VO, integrity, tradition, and craftsmanship. Those are the three things synonymous with Ezra Ginsburg as well. Please drink responsibly.
Boys, I thought we agreed that we were going to give the Seagram shot of the game to Logan Stanley's hit on Jordan Kyrou.
Yeah, it could be that as well. It's certainly that
was the shot of the game, I would say.
Yeah, it was certainly the body shot of the game, which is different than the body shots Ezzy's used to taking.
That's true. I mean, I do like my body shots, but
don't even go down that road.
Please. There's too many people in the chat.
Just talk about the goal, please.
Yeah. There's almost 700 people in the chat. Nobody wants to hear that, but
I don't know. I'm also shocked. I mean, unless I missed it, but it's been an hour and 12 minutes of this show, and Ezzy hasn't mentioned Colonel Sanders once.
Well, know that we got an email from the marketing.
Oh, I saw the email. It's like with all due respect, KFC, if you want to sign up and be a sponsor,
hold on a second, Drew. If they offer us a bucket of chicken, take it.
Yeah. Well, if they were smarter, if they had really done their research rather than just expecting us to, carry their water for them, they would have leveraged the fact that my wife, of course, is from Kentucky and tied that into the whole promotion.
Someone did not do their due diligence.
It's some Toronto marketing company. For shame, Toronto marketing company.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about right now.
Check your email.
Okay, I'll check my email later. But I mean, we talked about it. Drew talked about it earlier. I mean, it's Mark Scheifele doing a nice job, basically just out muscling, using his body to beat out Cam Fowler behind the net. And then it's just a nice pass, guys, from behind the goal line by Cole Perfetti, who sees that Kyle Connor's coming in. And like Drew said, like it's just a stick too late. It was Buchnevich there that was kind of just flat-footed, right? Like he was kind of just standing there, and Kyle Connor comes in, and it's a stick-to-stick pass, tape-to-tape pass, I should say, from Perfetti to Connor, and just another big goal. And it goes back to kind of what we've been talking about, guys, on the pregame show and on tonight's postgame show. Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele, like they're in the right spots at the right time, and they're executing. They're putting the puck in the net. 9 points in 2 games. Really impressive. They've been phenomenal. And to take nothing away from Alex Eiffel, I wanted to mention, we haven't really talked about him a lot. He's kind of sneakily become my favorite player on the Jets, I think, guys. Even though, apologies to Dylan Sandberg, who obviously I have a man crush on. But Eiffel was good tonight. But Perfetti, like he's been really good. He was obviously the most improved player on the Jets this year. I think we'd all agree on that. And again, they're getting the timely goals. It's a cliche, and we've said it many times tonight. But the Jets are getting those goals when they need them, and executing, and they're making those crisp passes and making sure that, when they have these opportunities. Because look, we can talk a lot about how dominant the Winnipeg Jets have been defensively. St. Louis Blues haven't been bad either, right? Like, we forget this is a veteran team. Like, you've got rookies in the lineup. Jimmy Snuggerud, obviously, right? And Zach Bolduc, I think, is still considered a rookie. But I mean, this is still a veteran team, especially the back end, right? With Ryan Suter and Nick Leddy and Cam Fowler and Colton Parayko. Like, Tyler Tucker is really the only young player on that back end. I guess Broberg we should throw in as well. But yeah, huge goal, and KFC once again is finger looking good tonight.
Oh, well done. Bravo. Excellent. You've been queuing that up for a long, long time, but you executed it.
I was thinking about it all day at work, Drew. I'm like, if Kyle Connors scores tonight, I'm saying that.
Okay, well, it came a minute 43 into the third period. It proved to be the game-winning goal tonight as the St. Louis Blues, in their efforts to get back into this game and tie it up, mustered all of 0 high-danger chances in the third period, which, again, testament to the Winnipeg Jets in how they absolutely just swallowed the Blues up in the neutral zone. I didn't think it was the same way it was on Saturday with the Jets keeping the puck, in the Blues zone, in the Blues offensive zone. I didn't think it was that. It was more that just didn't give up any time and space through the neutral zone. So St. Louis was just struggling to gain the zone, and the Jets would go back, and they were glad to just turn it back around and safely make the smart play and send it back in deep and make St. Louis go 200 feet back and forth for 18 or so minutes after the Jets took the lead, Dave.
Yeah, but I mean, again, and I know we've talked about it, but also an impressive penalty kill, right? You're down, or so you're up a goal, and you've got to kill them at the penalty for that roughing that Luke Shen took, and I put using air quotes, but I'm too lazy to lift my arms. But it was embarrassing. I mean, honestly, I thought a lot of the penalties were terrible, but I just don't understand that call. And yeah, it's an emotional moment for the game, right? Because the fans are on edge, and it was kind of funny, like with the last, they obviously pulled Jordan Binnington with 2:46 left in the game or something along those lines, just under 3 minutes to go. So it was kind of an early pull, I would imagine. And it was kind of unusual in the sense that they used their 30-second timeout, then they pulled them, and then sure enough, but it was funny to listen to the crowd because the crowd was into it, but I thought, I'm surprised they're not on their feet. And then sure enough, as the crowd got on their feet, they were the last 30 seconds, especially to the credit of the Jets, they really didn't give up a lot of 6-on-5 pressure, right? And that was another impressive defensive. And who's out there? Mark Scheifele's out there.
Yep.
Alongside Adam Lowry, obviously. So I mean, there's when the game is on the line, you want to be that guy who's getting trusted in these types of situations. And that's why I keep saying, like, this has the hallmarks of 17-18 Mark Scheifele. And
Kyle Connor also on the ice for the final 46 seconds of today's game. I mean, these are things you never would have said in a million years. These are things that don't sound plausible given what we had previously seen from both of them over their career.
Like Dave said, Scheifele beast mode has been activated in these first 2 games. Look out, rest of the league.
Well, and it's true. And again, I said this, I want to say this, I said this in the summer, and I believed it then. I clearly obviously still believe it, but I said, what does Mark Scheifele care about now? His contract is done. He doesn't have to worry about that for the rest of his career. Yeah, his whole philosophy is legacy, and you only gain a legacy by winning a Stanley Cup, and you only do that by becoming a better all-around player. And we've seen Mark Scheifele, who is a, quote, I hate saying this, student of the game, and knowing exactly what Steve Yzerman had to do to change his game from pure offense to better defensively, and he's done it himself. So again, I'm not saying he's winning a Selke tomorrow, Ezzy, but the fact of the matter is he's night and day from what he used to be.
Sorry, Dave. Can we stop the show here?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm not sure which Drew's Jazz hands this is, but somebody put the Muppet face on the picture with the Drew with the Jazz.
Ezzy, I told you that already.
Yeah, I don't think he saw it because he wasn't on the post-game show on Saturday.
Oh, you didn't see it. That's
so
right.
He hasn't seen it. So yes,
I'm sorry. We have the best viewers ever. I mean, whoever this actually is, I can't keep track of who this actually is.
The way you can tell is that Kenny's water bottle is not
KWB?
Is not the Muppet version.
He's the live version of Drew.
He's the live version of it.
Somebody put the Muppet face on Drew doing the jazz hands. I'm sorry, that's genius. Whoever that is, you get my full respect for that.
Yes,
exactly. There you go. But
that and $1.25 or that and $4.75 was the cost of Ezzy's large soft drink today for some reason.
Oh man. Yeah, hey Drew, I needed a liter of cola. If we're gonna pump out an hour and a half pregame show, I'm gonna need a liter of Sprite.
There you go.
Well, you got that and then some. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Dave.
Anyways, no. I mean, it was, again, like I said, it's just interesting to me to see the change in the game that these guys are playing. And again, I credit what they were able to do. And one other player who we haven't really mentioned tonight, but I just thought he had another good game, was Josh Morrissey. And nothing spectacular, but there's just little plays that he makes throughout the course of a hockey game that just make you appreciate what he is and what he can do. So, like I said,
calms the waters.
For sure. And he doesn't show up on the score sheet, but that doesn't necessarily matter, of course, because like I said, he's a workhorse, although as he mentioned, it was Dylan Sandberg who I believe had the most minutes for the game, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think the main reason because of that was because of the PK, right?
Yeah, 24 and a half minutes for Dylan Sandberg, 21:53 for Josh Morrissey.
And remember,
yeah,
what did Scott Arniel say when asked about shortening the bench? We just want to win this game. We're not thinking about tomorrow. We're not worried about game 3.
And you now have 48 hours. It's an optional practice. The Jets had said it's an optional practice tomorrow for the Jets. And then, of course, they'll practice again here on Wednesday before they head to St. Louis for game 3 on Thursday night, a game where we encourage all of you to join us at Boston Pizza on.
I don't think everybody can join us, Drew. That'd be, I don't know, the Boston.
Maybe they'll set up tables and chairs in the parking lot. I don't know.
Hey, well, what's the temperature on Thursday? Maybe we can do an outdoor show.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't checked it there. Yeah, we're going to get relegated to the outdoors is what's going to happen.
Well, 13 degrees on Thursday. Friday's 17 if we should and sunny. So maybe we should postpone until Friday.
I don't think that we get to determine the schedule, but I like where your mind's at anyways. We go to break tonight on the Illegal Curve post-game show. When we come back, more on the Jets and the Blues. A look at the out-of-town scoreboard. Be sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn your notifications on because we're going to go live all the time throughout the playoffs here on the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg, Drew Mandel with you. It's the Illegal Curve post-game show. Rolls on this Monday night.
We want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling sites instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre. Holt Dental, the new official dentist of Illegal Curve, has a philosophy rooted in 2 unyielding principles: genuinely caring about patients and providing outstanding service. Being a patient of Holt Dental means more than just checkups and treatments. It's taking the time to listen and talk to each patient so they can achieve the best long-term health, functionality, and aesthetics for their teeth, mouth, and gums. Conveniently located at Grant Park Festival on Taylor Avenue, Holt Dental is dentistry of the highest quality in a comfortable and relaxed environment. For more information, visit holtdental.ca. Oh, and there's plenty of free parking at the front door, too. Celebrating its 40th year as Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best and most affordable live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For more information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.ca. illegalcurve.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. Winnipeg Jets defeat the St. Louis Blues 2-1 tonight in downtown Winnipeg. It is a 2-0 series lead for the Jets. The series shifts to St. Louis, where the Jets will look to continue their winning ways on Thursday night. We'll be, of course, at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue, and we encourage everybody to be there as well with us. Quick look at the out-of-town scoreboard. Washington
4-0 now, Drew.
I know. I'm going to get to it. Washington Capitals took a 2-0 lead against the Montreal Canadiens, but those pesky Montreal Canadiens battled back to earn 1 point, sending the game. Oh no, that doesn't happen in the playoffs. The Canadiens battled back to their credit, but Washington, Alex Ovechkin gets his first ever OT winner. Isn't that a bit of a surprise to you guys that he's never had an overtime winner before tonight? But the storybook season for Alex Ovechkin continues. The Capitals defeat the plucky Montreal Canadiens 3-2 in overtime. Late in the second period in Los Angeles, it is a final, even though it is late in the second period. The Kings are going to take a 1-0 series lead. They have half as many goals as the Edmonton Oilers have shots. The Oilers have 8 shots on goal through almost 40 minutes. The Kings have 4 goals. It is a romp in Los Angeles, 4-0. The LA Kings lead over the Edmonton Oilers. It's just really a one-sided contest. The Oilers really struggling. Frankly, they're banged up. They're injured. Goaltending has been a question.
This isn't their year, Drew.
Yeah, this is not their year. I really do think I agree with you there, as it just seems like. And by the way, the LA Kings are a damn good hockey team, and nobody's giving them any credit at all. And they're going to be a pain in the rear end for I can assume, the Vegas Golden Knights in the next round. But as good as the Central Division matchup is going to be in round 2, so is the Pacific Division matchup. It's going to be a heavyweight fight. Speaking of the other Central Division matchup, Colorado, at the start of the third period, has a 3-2 lead over the Dallas Stars. So the Avs are looking for the road sweep in Texas. Gabriel Landeskog took the warm-up, but ended up being a scratch for the Avalanche. So his return to the Av lineup waits another day, but appears to be getting closer and closer. Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to say, Sean Shapiro, who covers the Stars, had a funny tweet. I think he said something like, I think this is the first time in Gabriel Landeskog's career he's ever been a healthy scratch.
That is
I think some mind games were being played by Jared Bednar.
Oh, there's no question.
Miles Wood came into the lineup for Ross Colton, but I think everyone, as soon as we found out that he was going to be taking the warm-ups, Dave, I think everybody was excited. But I mean, just the fact that Gabriel Landeskog has not played in 3 full seasons, and now he's made his way back, the captain making his way back. I assume he's going to eventually play for the Avalanche. I'm not sure when, but just an amazing story, like just storybook type of stuff.
By the way, I just saw the highlights of the Kings' 4th goal. It's troubles in Edmonton is what you're seeing there. You're seeing a lot of troubles for a team. It was just an absolute Claude Noel free pizza, like the likes of which you don't see from bad NHL teams. Never mind in Game 1 of the playoffs.
It might be Calvin Pickard for the rest of the series, Drew. I'm not even joking.
Unless Calvin Pickard can play defense, I don't think it's going to matter who's playing goal. Or unless Draisaitl and McDavid all of a sudden start winning games 8-7. But the LA Kings are one of the better shutdown teams as well. It come playoff time, so it's not looking good for the Edmonton Oilers against the LA Kings, be it early in that playoff series. It's looking good for the Winnipeg Jets. 2-0. They lead the St. Louis Blues after 2 games. Game 3 goes on Thursday night. We will take a couple days off before the next post-game show, but illegalcurve.com does not take any time off whatsoever. So that'll be your destination tomorrow, as well as our YouTube channel for all your latest Winnipeg Jets audio, video, news.
And Manitoba Moose. It's our last couple of days of Manitoba Moose coverage, Drew. The
There you
Moose
go.
are packing, well, not all the Moose. A lot of them are going to be sticking around and being, whatever you want to call them, taxi
Black
squad
Aces.
guys, black aces.
The Jets haven't called anybody up yet, have they? Really?
They don't need
called
to.
Up Tony for that
Well, they called
game.
Tornado, yeah. So he's up, but they're not going to. I don't think that they're going to recall. I think they'll leave the guys. I don't think those guys will probably do media availabilities, to be honest with you. So it'll be a smaller squad, so you can kind of surmise based on who I talk to. They may actually make the recalls tomorrow. Maybe they make it official because those guys aren't going to be at media availability. But I'm not really certain.
Those
exactly
guys is Dylan Coughlin, Dave.
What's that?
Wouldn't be surprised if Coughlin is one of those
Oh
guys.
no, for sure. I think Coughlin will be one of the guys. I think Mason Shaw is going to be one of the guys. I think that
Axel Janssen-Fialbi.
Axel Janssen. Probably Axel Janssen.
No, actually, you're only allowed to have one hyphenated name
Jared Anderson
on your roster. Yeah.
In
fact, the Moose used to play them on the same line, so I would just be like AJF JAD because I was like, I'm
the
not
hyphen
using,
line.
Yeah, exactly. So, Isaac Phillips maybe just to have another. I mean, he's the guy who obviously played some games with the Chicago Blackhawks this season, so he'll most likely get the recall. And yeah, I mean, they're not going to go on the road. They'll stay in Winnipeg and they'll just practice here because they have the guys if they need it. We, obviously Ville Heinola is dealing with something. He's been banged up. So, they'll have enough guys. Salamonson, I would imagine. I think, again, there were a number of guys in the press box tonight. But of course, that's because the end of season is tomorrow. So we don't know, can't speculate as to whether the guys who are here correspond with the guys who are, other than just wanting to see some NHL games. And of course, some of the young prospects. Brad Lambert's still in a boot, so I suspect he's dealing with that ankle sprain.
Yeah.
So as Mark Morrison told me last week, he's still going to be a few weeks away, of course. And so, but Parker Ford, he was there, so we'll see if he's one of them as well. And like you said, stay tuned to Illegal Curve. We'll have all the latest.
By the way, I just gave that eulogy of the Edmonton Oilers. They scored. I mean, it's uncanny. I just gave their eulogy and they scored.
I thought you were going to say, Drew, to be honest with you, and because it's the Edmonton Oilers with Connor McDavid, I thought you were going to say something like they just scored 3 goals.
No, Draisaitl scored with 6 seconds to go in the second period. So maybe I was a little too soon in shoveling dirt on them. But
no, I don't think you were too soon, Drew. I think they're still done.
Thank you, Ezzy. I appreciate that. I'll tell you who's done, and that's us, because we're over an hour and a half into
like dinner, Drew. Like dinner.
Post-game show. I haven't had dinner. We went straight from the pregame show, came home to watch the game. It's, almost 11 o'clock. Probably time for dinner for yours truly. Have a little snackaroo. I can see Mr. Ginsburg. It looks like he's got a hankering for something as well. So
always peckish, boys. Always peckish.
We will get on to that, and we will remind everybody to tune in to us on Thursday night and to keep it locked on illegalcurve.com, as well as our YouTube channel for all your latest on the Winnipeg Jets. Big thanks to everybody who joined us on the post-game show and on the pre-game show. We'll be back at it on Thursday night. Big thanks to all the sponsors of Illegal Curve who make the post-game show, the Saturday show, and the website a possibility. That, of course, is our friends at Play Now, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club. If you're looking for something to do over the next couple nights with no Jets games, check out Rumors Comedy Club. Good friend of ours, Benji Rothman, is performing at Rumors, and then Jordan Jensen is performing at Rumors this weekend. And so you have time on your hands between no games between now and Thursday, and then Thursday and Sunday. So rumorscomedyclub.com. Holt Dental makes our smiles nice and shiny. Boston Pizza keeps us well fed. We'll see you there on Thursday night. City Place is our home away from home. And Seagram's makes sure that we do not go thirsty. Big thanks to all of you for joining us. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn your notifications on, and tell your friends and tell your family the best place to be after each and every Winnipeg Jets game, before each and every Winnipeg Jets home playoff game, and again on Saturday mornings is the Illegal Curve YouTube channel.
Beauty, Dave. She's a beauty.
For producer Tim Debenham, for videographer and photographer Colby Spence, for Dave Manouk and Ezra Ginsburg, I am your host, Drew Mindell. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you on Thursday night at Boston Pizza. Until then, Jets win 2-1 over the St. Louis Blues. They lead the series 2-0. Thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.